You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.
This is Rod Mahood, your in-game voice of the Niagara IceDogs, and you're listening to the Dog Pound Podcast on the Armchair GM Sports Network, your podcast source for all game analysis, team interviews, and up-to-date news regarding the Niagara IceDogs.
Yes, thank you once again, Rod Mahood, for that glorious intro. And welcome, IceDog fans, to another episode of the Dog Pound Podcast right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network, your October 20th, 2021 edition, your source North American sports coverage by sports fans, for sports fans, delivered to you right here in the beautiful Niagara region. You can find us on social media for updates and giveaways by following the podcast on Twitter at Armchair GM Pod, as well as this show's podcast. Make sure you're following us at Dog Pound Podcast for all updates on IceDogs content on the network. You can find us also on Facebook and Instagram. You can listen to us on many platforms, including Spreaker, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, CastBox, Deezer, wherever you're getting your podcasts at. We're available there for you guys on demand in audio or video form, and obviously in video form on youtube.com more specifically. And guys, if you're watching us on the YouTube side of things, make sure you're hitting that bell icon, smashing that like button, and hitting subscribe for all updates on videos that are released on our YouTube channel. Give us some love over there on the video side of things. As well, lastly, beautiful user-friendly website, armchairgmsports.com, for all things regarding the network, including articles, podcasts, episodes, sponsors, and contributors. Everything's on there for you guys. Please go and check that out, and as well check out Kyle's IceDogs article that is going to be up every single week after we're done watching the IceDogs games over the weekend. Every week he's going to have a article up there recapping each week, so make sure you're going and checking those out. He's got 2 posted already. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, I am your host of the Dog Pound Podcast. My name is Brandon Caputo. You can follow me on Twitter right underneath there at Caputs13_AGM, and I'm talking about him, so I might as well introduce him now by my co-host and contributor for the IceDogs portion of the network. He is the one and only Just Kyle 51, also known as Kyle Aikett. Kyle, Week 2 for the IceDogs is in the books, and as your article stated, rough one.
Oh, unintended. But yes, it was a rough weekend.
It was. So again, this is going to be a shorter episode, guys. Not a whole lot of stuff to get to other than the home and home with the Hamilton Bulldogs from last week. The first installment of the Canine Cup didn't go the IceDogs' way. We'll quickly touch on that, and then also we've got post game audio from Coach Billy Burke, and then we're also going to just quickly discuss the week upcoming, because the IceDogs have 3 games this weekend. So a busy turnaround here after 2 losses. They're going to have to get the ship righted here.
Back to back.
Yep, 2 rematches, and I guess where they formerly used to play in Mississauga. So with that said, Kyle, let's jump into the first segment today, and let's quickly discuss, just the home and home with the Hamilton Bulldogs. I'm going to put the standings up on the screen for the YouTube viewers. If you guys are listening in audio, you can just pull them up and take a look at it yourself while we're talking about it. The Hamilton Bulldogs are a 4-0 start, so definitely really good start for them. They're leading the Eastern Conference again. Only conference play this year, with the schedule being what it is. No Western Conference opponents this year, other than a quick couple of games against the Erie Otters coming up from Pennsylvania. But you've got the Hamilton Bulldogs, the only undefeated team in the Eastern Conference, Kyle, and they definitely look like it. They look really good so far.
Oh man, they look like a strong team. Just based off the 2 games that we saw them face the Dogs, and obviously not going the IceDogs way, the other Dogs way, losing 4-0 in both games. But yeah, they look like a solid team, very, very solid. You look at the standings too; they got 16 goals for, only 6 goals against, and that kind of showed in the 2 games that we watched, as both starting and backup goalie got big shutouts against us, and they both look pretty solid in the net. It's not like the IceDogs didn't have their chances. They outshot the Bulldogs in both games. It's just the goal, they couldn't bury, and the goalies came up big when they needed to come big. So the Bulldogs off to a very big start. Hopefully they can hold that, being rivals. I hope they don't hold that. But, for the IceDogs, it's not too bad of a start. They're at 500, 2-2. Can't really complain about that either. I'd like to see the goals for category a little bit higher, sitting at a 7 right now with 11 against. So hopefully they can start to turn that around.
Yep, and they've got Mississauga, who's 1-2. They've got Barrie's 2-2, and Oshawa 2-2. So a lot of parity going on right now in the Eastern Conference. And like you mentioned, the goals for, Kyle, I think that's a big issue that we need to touch on right now, is that the lack of goal scoring right now for this team. And I'm going to pull up the player stats on the screen for the YouTube viewers here. And again, they don't have any. They have 2 players that have 2 points, and then other than that, they have a bunch of guys with 1 point. And one guy that's missing from this list actually is the captain, Cam Butler. Hasn't been able to get on the score sheet yet. Kyle, is that concerning for you, the fact that Butler hasn't got on the score sheet yet, or do you think it's going to take him a while to adjust to this new role as the captain, and they're asking him to play maybe some different spots that he might not be used to, as far as, playing in front of the net on the power play instead of being the trigger man? Do you think that plays into it as well? And, how long do you think we expect Cam to be held down here? Because you can't hold a guy like him down with that elite level shot that he has much longer, I'd hope.
I really don't think it's just one contributing factor here that's causing this. I think there's a lot of factors that are going into this. Some that I can name off the top of my head is we just got back from a pandemic, or we're still in the pandemic, but they haven't played hockey, in almost a year and a half. So it could be trying to get back into that competitive nature. Another thing is that when Cam did come in to the IceDogs at the time when he was traded to us, he's not having that same role as he had then. He was kind of like a second to third liner guy. Here he's being relied on to play the most minutes a night, first line, and a big guy to rely on when the IceDogs are down and out. So I think that also is a big contributing factor to him getting adjusted here early on in this season. The captaincy can play into it too. These kids are young. I'd love to sit here and compare it to the NHL, and I can bring up my team, John Tavares, captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs, having almost the same kind of start to the season as Cam Butler is with the IceDogs, right? You expect more out of your captain. I know I can't really compare the two, obviously, with the ages and the contract and the play level, but you can see there's a sort of similar comparison there that, they need to they're expected of more and they're not performing more. So I really hope, it's not even just Cam, the whole team you can say here. We do expect more. If you look back at the standings right now in the Eastern Conference, the IceDogs have they actually do have the worst goals for in the whole Eastern Conference. Them and Mississauga only have 1 single digit in the goals for category. Everybody else is double digits. So, I think we do expect the IceDogs to get better in that category. I think it's going to take a little bit of time, obviously, with the returning players and the new crop of 2 drafted rookies crop coming in and finding that chemistry. I think, you can tell from even the coaches' interviews that there's not a lot of panic right now, which is good. That's a very important thing, that there's no panic going on right now. And then they also understand that, there's a lot of kids on this team that are new to the OHL and are going to take some time to get adjusted. But, I'd say probably if there was a panic moment, if we were sitting 0-4 or 0-5, I think there'd be a cause for concern. But sitting at 2-2 right now and looking at the team stats, I think it's a decent start, not the greatest start, but I think it's a decent start.
Yeah, and they could have easily lost the game against Oshawa last Saturday as well. They had to come back late and score and bring that to a shootout and end up eventually getting the win there. So you could be easily looking at a 1-3 start, but they're 2-2. So like you mentioned, not a whole lot of room to panic right now. And again, you got 3 big games this weekend, so you kind of have to look forward to that, which Coach will get into in the post game. But again, Cam's not the only guy. You expect this offense to be a lot better. You expect them to put up a lot of points with the type of players that they have. And we mentioned, Daniil Gushin has 1 goal and no assists in 4 games. You expect more from somebody like him. Cam Peters has no points. You just expect a lot from some of these guys. Aiden Castle only has 1 point. A lot of these guys got their first goals on the opening night in Barrie, and then nothing else after that. So it's going to happen. It's growing pains with a very young roster, and like you mentioned, hopefully as the season progresses, it gets better. But for Cam specifically, there's a lot of pressure that goes into being the captain. You got to be at all the, you're next to the penalty box with the referee talking about the penalties. There's a lot more. There's a lot more responsibility that goes into being the captain. So I think Cam's just getting adjusted to that, and hopefully it'll transition over to his play eventually, because we know that he can be an elite goal scorer in this league and should be able to carry the IceDogs as far as offensive goal output goes. So I wouldn't be too concerned about that, and hopefully they can get going as far in that regard. But
it's not like they're having their chances. I mean, from what we've seen out of these kids, out of the games that we've watched there in the press box, like, they're getting their chances. I think it's just they're missing that little bit of extra to bury the puck. I mean, like I said, I'd be concerned if they weren't getting any chances at all and they were just kind of getting flat-footed and there was no scoring chances whatsoever. I think there'd be a problem there. But the fact that they're getting a ton of scoring chances, like I brought up earlier, they outshot the Bulldogs in both games that they lost 4-0. They're struggling to bury the puck, and I think that's going to come again. That's one of the things that comes with time, and they're going to figure out. And when they do, I think they could be a very dangerous team.
Does the power play concern you at all? Obviously, we'll get into the Uberti thing. He wasn't out there for most of the game, but just the way that the power play's been going, it hasn't been that successful so far. Do you think that they're trying? It looks like they're trying to stack the line with the power play. I don't know if that's something that coach wants to do moving forward, or he's just trying some things out in the first couple of weeks. But the power play definitely could be better in a lot of aspects.
I think they're moving the puck well, and they've found a formation and are cycling pretty well with that formation for a team that has only training camp chemistry. They don't have like a chemistry of a full year in the OHL. I think they've moved the puck very well. I mean, we've seen some instances where the players have kind of held the puck too long or kind of like had a bad game, like our boy Panofimous in the last game. I think he had a really rough game, and he struggled a lot. Even on that power play, he struggled there was that one play where he tried to do like a backhand pass at the defenseman. The defenseman was already gone from that spot. So I think they found what exactly they want to do in that power play, and it goes with the other scoring, like the regular 5-on-5 scoring. They're just struggling to find the back of that net. So again, the chances are there. They're just not burying the puck, and I know that's probably one of the big things they're guaranteed working in practice that Billy's having them work on is finally burying that puck. And I do think that once they start finding that magic, they're going to be a very dangerous team and a very competitive team. So hopefully they do find that soon.
Gushin's got 13 shots on goal. Castle's got 10. Dakota Betts, surprisingly, as a defenseman and not really known for his offensive output, has 12 shots on goal. So, I mean, and
he's looked good. Like, when he's jumped in on the play, he's looked like he can be a dangerous threat, like that extra fourth forward on plays where that if the defenseman jumps in on a play to get an offensive chance, he's proven, I think, that he could definitely be a threat in that spot. So I don't think I remember seeing that out of him the last time we were watching this team. So if he's adding this to his repertoire, that only makes him more dangerous.
Yeah, as a veteran player, that's definitely good to see for the rookies. And let's quickly touch on the Jake Uberti thing, Kyle. Just really unfortunate. That basically changed the fortunes of the IceDogs right out of the gate on Saturday. 1 minute into the game, he gets a penalty. They determine that it's a 5-minute major and a game misconduct. A tough play, tough one to take if you're Coach Burke and the rest of the coaching staff having to adjust the lines after that. You're losing your top line centerman a minute into the game. You can't even go and get the scratch player that the extra scratch that they had after warm-up. So it's unfortunate, and you're down a forward, you're down your top line center, and they were in tough sledding from that. Just a really unfortunate play for the IceDogs and for Jake.
Oh, God, it was a rough penalty to watch. I understand both sides. After obviously reactionary, I thought it was kind of a weak call. It kind of looked like Jake just kind of ran into him, and there was no really intention to injure there. So I probably would have been fine if they had to give him just like a 2 or a 5-minute penalty without a game misconduct. But the fact that they went overboard at like 30 seconds into the game with that penalty, I'm like, okay, there wasn't really a clear intention to injure there. So I think that they kind of went overboard with that penalty, the refs. So it sucks. Stuff like that's going to happen though, and it takes a good team and smart coaching staff. Obviously we know Billy's a very smart coach and he knows what he's doing, but again, it takes that good of a team And again, like I just said, that's smart of a coach to adjust when stuff like this happens. And no, it does suck that it happens so early in the game, but I think they did a good job of adjusting. Some of the players kind of struggle a bit. It kind of seemed like to adjust to that. Obviously, they had to change the lines on the fly more because that's a key forward, and you just kind of change everything. But look what we got out of that, though, because a big thing happened in this game that happened because of this unfortunate event.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna let you do it. Because you picked it out first. I didn't catch it at first. You caught it at first.
I don't even remember what we're talking about.
The Toronto Junior Canadians line that they created.
Yeah. So they ended up going with the. I thought you meant like the centerman on that line. I was like so confused. They ended up going with the Toronto Junior Canadian line of Bryce Cook, Pano Fimis, and Aiden Castle, which was really interesting to see. And some love there for the AAA squad that they all.
We
were
joked about
from.
that. We in training camp where we were sitting there going like, they need to put these three together for like a junior Canadian line. And look.
And we asked Coach about that, and he definitely said, that it was something that he wanted to try at some point, and it just kind of the way that the lines had to shake out at that point, and I don't know if that was going to be a line going into the game already, regardless of if Uberti was going to be there or not, but it definitely gave them an opportunity to kind of play together. They know their strengths. It seems like they definitely knew how to play together. Just getting caught up to the OHL speed. Would you like to see them kind of play as a line going forward, or do you think that it's important for them to learn how to play with other players as well?
Well, what you just said there is very important, especially in the OHL. I think that's key, but I would like to see a lot more of them. If he wants to maybe try this out on the power play, I think that'd be a smart decision. Like, I don't know if he would like to lean on it because they did do good. There were some plays on Saturday that I seen out of them. They had really good zone entry on a couple of plays, and they kind of found each other on the ice. So I think maybe in a game that they're winning by a ton, they kind of want to slow the game down. They can kind of try it out for chemistry, or like I just said, a power play line. That would be pretty awesome to see if that would work. Maybe like a power play 2 line, and you can stack the first power play line. I know that they would like to have Pano on there on line 1 for power play to get him accustomed to that, because he's almost certain to quarterback the power play going forward even next year. So I don't know. I'd like to see it more. I mean, I saw some good sparks out of it, but I don't think like a full-time thing should be a thing. I think they're doing well with putting Pano with Butler and whoever they like to switch that out with the other side wing. Yeah,
they stacked it with Gushin, and I don't know that we didn't really get to see that full line of Uberti, Gushin, and Butler. We saw it for about 40 seconds. So hopefully maybe we'll see that Coach Burke go back to that on Thursday, since really didn't get a good enough sample size of what that line could possibly do. But yeah, losing Jake was tough, and we've seen Jake add that physical element this year. He's taken a few more penalties because he's becoming more aggressive. He's getting in on the forecheck. He's laying his body out a lot more than he had last year, and like we had mentioned last week, a big improvement. And he's really trying to show his two-way game. And unfortunately, something like that was something that the refs kind of wanted to make a statement early in the game, and they chose to make the call that they did. But you can't stop Jake from wanting to play that way. If that's what he needs to take that next step, he needs to continue to play like that, and
Exactly.
Obviously not take a 5-minute penalty. But I mean, we can sit here all day and debate if that was a 5-minute penalty in a game misconduct or not. But it did happen. But the team hopefully and Jake will learn from that.
Right.
Other than that, let's get to the post game with Coach Billy Burke, and then we'll wrap up to the rest of today's episode with discussing the upcoming games for the weekend. So here is, and we were the only ones there, so it was just me, just me asking questions with Coach Burke. So it worked out well for our show. But here's 5 minutes worth of post game with myself and head coach of the Niagara IceDogs, Billy Burke.
Coach, obviously not the weekend you want between last night and tonight against a rival in Hamilton, and obviously not the result tonight as well. Just, general thoughts on the weekend. You guys couldn't get one past them. Was there something that they were doing that was, hindering you guys from being able to put the puck in the net, or do you just have to credit them for playing a good game?
Oh yeah, definitely credit them for playing a good game. They're an old team. They're a good team. I think they're gonna have a good year. Give a lot of teams problems. So I actually thought between tonight and last night was very different. Last night, I didn't like our effort. I thought we were inconsistent. We were a perimeter on the outside, too many passengers. But tonight I really thought it was much the opposite. I thought every guy was really playing as hard as he could. You could tell how much they care. And, we didn't, we probably deserved a better result tonight than what we got. But that's the way the bounces go sometimes. And as long as we keep having that kind of work ethic and having that kind of heart and character, then our days will come.
We asked you last week about the penalties, and it was something that you had mentioned that it's something that your group really needed to clean up. Tonight, obviously, a minute in, you lose your top center in JQ Barrie, and you're down, your number one center for the whole game, essentially. So how were you guys able to, how difficult was that for you guys to overcome just being down a guy, being down your top center, and having to kill off a 5-minute power play, which you guys did successfully right off the bat?
Yeah, it was disappointing for sure. I thought Butler and Jake and Gushkin kind of had, real good jump there to start. And then, really kills the flow. But the penalty kill guys did an outstanding job all night long. We still need to clean up some penalties for sure. That'll be an ongoing process. But the penalty kill itself did a great job. And, the guys gave us some life. It was, dealt some adversity right there off the top. But it happens sometimes, and you just have to, got to roll with the punches.
You were down some guys tonight, obviously Rubrick out of the lineup, Snow out of the lineup, you Birdie going out. How difficult was that for you to kind of put the lines together with what you had left over and kind of, having to juggle up the forward lines already a weekend?
Yeah, definitely did a lot of line juggling today. I think everybody got to play with everybody a little bit at some point. But yeah, we trust our depth, and when we have guys out of the lineup for whatever reason, we have full faith in whoever's in the lineup is going to step up and do a great job. So every guy that played tonight, I have a ton of respect for, and they can hold their heads high. We didn't get the result, but the effort was there, and I'm proud of those guys.
Seemed like they were trying to bait you guys into a lot of post-whistle scrums there. They're a grindy team. They wanted to get under your skin there. How do you think that the guys were able to respond to that? And kind of what do you tell them on the bench to kind of not retaliate and to not go back after them? Because it seemed like a couple of the guys on their team really wanted to bait you guys into taking more penalties and to just get them more frustrated, which then getting you guys to take more penalties and then, just escalated from there. How were you able to kind of keep them from doing that?
Yeah, again, it's I think it's a little bit of veteran savvy by their guys to know to toe that line and not go over it. It's something we can learn at, but I don't think we're going to be intimidated by anything. I don't think we're going to back down from anyone. So you got to be smart. You don't want to be negating power plays and things like that. So we got to continue to make sure we kind of pick our spots a little bit more. But these guys have each other's back, and you're proud to see that. But we just need to continue to make smart decisions.
And I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about the Toronto Junior Canadian line that you put together there with Castle, Fimis, and Bryce Cook. Just was that something that you had wanted to do at some point and put them together as rookies? And how did you think that they performed tonight, given the circumstances?
Yeah, it's something that was in the back of our mind. Obviously, they're great friends and they have great chemistry. And, I wasn't sure if they'd be able to handle it as a line right away, but they all can. They're all doing a great job individually. They're big parts of this team already, and they're three guys that I can trust kind of in any situation against any line. So, yeah, they're young, but you know what? We're going to trust our young guys to give us good minutes, and it's all going to pay off for us down the road.
And lastly, what do you take from this weekend, and what do you kind of try to tell the guys and let them know that this is just a learning experience and something that they're going to have to go through in a long season? It's a grind. Obviously, no goals in a weekend series, but how do you move forward here going into the third week? You were 2-0 in week one, so how do you kind of balance those ups and downs through the season with a very young roster?
Yeah, for sure. That's exactly it. Obviously, try to do a little bit more, goal scoring and finishing. But, it's, like they say, what do they say? They say offense is kind of like a cat and defense is like your dog. The cat comes and goes. So it comes and goes. We have a high talent level. I definitely thought we could have earned a couple goals today. Didn't go our way, but great effort, great heart, great character, a lot of good things to build on. And, I'm so very excited and very happy with these guys.
Kyle, there's Coach Billy Burke. Initial thoughts on what he said. There's a couple interesting tidbits in there.
Yeah, the one thing I pointed out was from the Junior Montreal Canadian line. I can't say this word.
Toronto
Junior Canadians line. That it's a line that he can rely on to put anywhere at any given time, which is interesting. So that kind of goes back to what I was saying. Like, I thought that maybe just like try out as a power play line, but if there was like a scenario where like he could throw them out for like a face-off or something, like it was an offensive zone face-off or like a defensive zone face-off, and he trusts them to get the puck out. That would be, I mean, I think that's saying huge things, and maybe we're looking at a glimpse into the future that maybe these are the plans going forward to eventually stick these three guys together.
I don't know, but it's rare that you get to even see three guys from the same team on the OHL
Right.
roster, let alone on the same line. So I think this is a pretty incredible circumstance here that not a lot of people get to go through from AAA to the OHL. So I think these guys, I'm sure, are happy with it, embracing it, and all coming in as rookies at the same time. I'm sure it helps having those guys around. But one of the other things I took from what Billy said was, he said there were too many passengers tonight, but it was still a better effort than they gave on Friday night. He thought that things just didn't go their way, and they have full faith on whatever lineup is going to get, whatever the lineup is, that they're going to get the job done. So he expects these guys that are scratched to come in and be able to fill the role and fill the shoes of the guys that aren't in the lineup. And we saw that at training camp how competitive it was and how many guys were fighting for roster spots, and there were some good players that ended up not making the roster. So I think that Billy definitely believes in that and thinks that the guys that he has on either the fourth line or the guys that are scratched, if they are called like they are, when Jake goes down, that they're going to be able to step up and get into the lineup when there are injuries, like they had the Snow as well, who's been playing really well, and Mason Howard isn't in the lineup yet either. So again, I think the depth of this team, and we see it in the OHL all the time, you need to have bottom six scoring. You need to have that depth scoring. Every team has a really solid line one, but it's going to be that third or fourth line getting it done for you. So what do you think about the depth going forward with this team, and just kind of Billy's thoughts on that?
I think the injuries are playing a key factor here that doesn't get said a lot. Is like, you look at the injuries right now, Agustinelli, he had a pretty good camp from what I've seen, and it kind of sucks he gets injured early on. He hasn't had a chance to really like show what he's been working on himself in the last year and a half. So I think he's a key factor to the IceDogs team that we haven't seen yet. Obviously, you mentioned there Mason Howard, one of the key parts of this IceDogs defenseman. The guy literally eats block shots for breakfast, just like he crushes chips. So I mean, Mason Howard is a big key part to this defensive core, and it sucks at him being injured. And then your boy Cam Snow, we saw a lot of early glimpses out of Cam Snow, a very vast improvement in his game. And like Billy said a couple of games ago, that Cam Snow is an excellent player and a utility player that he can put in any situation. He knows he's going to get 110% out of him. And he's seen a big improvement with him too. So that's another key injury as well. So like three key injuries right now that are, kind of affecting the Dogs here. And I think once we get those three back, I think we'll see a little bit of a different team. And it'll be interesting. Like you said, it was a fight at training camp for spots. And look, we've seen out of the Dogs so far, right? You see, I just mentioned those three players. That's two forwards and one defenseman that are going to have to sit when these three come back. So it's in a way, it's weird to say, it's a dog eat dog competition right now on the IceDogs team right now when it comes to getting a full-time spot. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, because that just proves that you have a very stacked team and you have so many players that could be easily full-time people in your roster every night. So I'm glad that there's a little bit of competition there to step up in practices to show that you're game time ready and you can contribute to this team. So as back for what Billy said, I saw that too, just from the highlights in the Hamilton game, from the visitors game on Friday to the home and watching it live there home on Saturday. There was a vast difference in effort and competitiveness with the team. So they really wanted to get back at the Bulldogs, and just unfortunately the hockey guys decided not to help the boys out and getting that puck into the net. Yeah,
0-2 to start the K9 Cup. But again, hopefully Jake Uberti is able to play more than 40 seconds in the next game, and that's also a key part too. You had the three injuries I listed in, Jake Uberti going out early in the game. That already puts you in a tough spot. Exactly. So hopefully, looking forward to this weekend, Kyle. Like I mentioned, got 3 games on the docket. 1 on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, back to back to back. 2 at home at the Meridian Center, which is nice, and then 1 on the road. So again, you're playing against Barrie, playing against Oshawa, so rematches against 2 teams that they have already beaten, so they've got to have some confidence going into those games. And then you're also playing Mississauga, again, the former Mississauga IceDogs, now the Mississauga Steelheads. So we got the IceDog matchup, I guess you could say. It's not even a thing anymore. They were like the St. Michael Majors before then too. So. I don't know. We just remember Joey and Billy talking about them moving the team from Mississauga, taking everything down that was hockey related, but it's just so they're 1-2, sitting in 9th place in the conference, or in the conference. And like you mentioned, both those teams are last in goals for in the Eastern Conference. The Steelheads have 8, IceDogs have 7, so should be pretty optimistic going into this weekend, Kyle. I mean, they 2 teams that they've already beaten, and a team that looks like they're ripe to be beaten in Mississauga. So I mean, for me, a successful weekend. I'm hoping they at least get 3 points out of 6. I think that would definitely be the floor as far as
I'm going for 4. I want to see 4 points. I want to see 2 wins out of the 3 games. And there's 2 teams that they can do it against. They can do it against Barrie. They've proven they can beat Barrie, and they can do it against the Steelheads. If they can get their act together and start putting the puck in the net, they can beat a Steelhead team the way they are right now, sitting at 1-2. So those are 2 easy wins. The only game I see being a tough one and a really good game is the Oshawa game. They've been looking very impressive lately, regardless of their record. Cal Murchie has just turned it up to like 300. He was the OHL's first star last week. He had something stupid like 7 goals in 5 games. Like, he's just on another or 6 goals in 5 games. He's on another level right now. So that'll be a tough game against the Oshawa Generals on Thursday. It'll be in Oshawa too. So I think if we can get at least 2 out of the 3, I think it's a successful weekend.
Yep, and the only thing with Barrie is that they're getting Brant Clark back. And like we mentioned, in the last episode, that he's kind of their power play quarterback, and he's kind of the guy, their best player that runs everything from the back end. But you'd hope to think that one player isn't going to make that big of a difference, and the IceDogs should still be able to come out with a good effort against Barrie. And obviously Marty Williamson, the former head coach of the IceDogs, you always want to beat your former players and your former organization. So I think Marty's going to obviously be extra motivated after losing to them in their home opener. So it's going to be a tough test for the IceDogs, but like you mentioned, I think they could easily come away with 4 out of 6 points this weekend against these 3 teams. And I think, hopefully that'll be a successful week after going 0-2 against Hamilton, but the up and downs of the season, and hopefully they took what they learned some things from the 2-game sweep there by Hamilton, and they're going to take it into this weekend and hopefully come out with, like you mentioned, at least a couple of wins. Who are you looking at to kind of have a bounce back week here? We talked about Cam Butler, Daniil Gushin. Is there somebody that you're really expecting to kind of turn it up now as we go into week 3?
I'd like to see Walt, like we mentioned, Uberti maybe not get the horrible luck in getting kicked out of the game. I think we've seen him really turn a new game so far. I hope to see. Well, it'll be interesting to see what the injury updates are on Howard and Snow. See if they're going to get into the game finally. And I want to see a big game out of Pano Fimis. I know he scored in his first OHL game, but I want to see him get on the score sheet more and contribute a lot to the scoring, because that's what he's here for. He's here to lead this team, be the future captain, and to be our star of the future. He's going to be our number 1 centerman, and he's taken 2nd overall in the OHL draft. We need to see what a 2nd overall forward, the best forward in the draft, does. So I'm hoping that we can see a little bit more out of him. Not to say that he hasn't shown a lot of I don't know, greatness or great play so far. Yeah. I just want to see a little bit more out of him.
Yeah, I mean, there was a couple bad giveaways on Saturday. I'm sure he'd be the first to tell you that he didn't have his best game, and a lot of the IceDog players would tell you that as well. So hopefully, fingers crossed, better weekend. There we go, in the screen. Better weekends for the IceDogs with 3 games. Again, busy weekend. So hopefully next week's episode will be more jam-packed with you guys for player interviews as well. No player interviews after that game, just post-game from Coach Burke with that. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap it up for today's episode of the Dog Pound Podcast right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network. As always, I'm one of your hosts of this podcast. My name is Brandon Caputo. You can follow me on Twitter at Caputs13_AGM as well. You can follow my co-host Kyle at JustKyle51. And make sure you're checking out his IceDogs article every single week on ArmchairGMSports.com. After every weekend, a recap of the games for the IceDogs. So hopefully he's recapping a positive weekend and not a rough one for the Dogs, as it said.
I'm going to try to do every game this week. So you guys can expect one for every game. I'm going to have I've been doing good with the templates so far. So I'm going to hope to have an article recap of each game so you guys can read it like right away. I'm going to have it posted right in the morning after each game. So the third article will be kind of like a generalization of what I thought. There'll be like a closing remark of what I thought of the 3 games. Obviously, I want to keep a lot of stuff for this podcast as well, so we can talk about it here. But basically the purpose of these articles that I'm writing for us here at the Armchair GM Sports Network, if you guys have missed the game, it's something you can go and read and give you guys kind of like a not a point form, but a short form of what's happening in the game and what we see from up there from the press box.
Yeah, we sit there, we watch the entire game, and we'll give you guys the timbits and the nuggets of it. So hopefully you guys enjoy that.
Timbits.
And again, check it out at armchairgmsports.com. And as well, you can follow us on Twitter at Dog Pound Podcast. Make sure you're checking us out there for all of our Dog Pound stuff and Ice Dogs coverage. Yep, Puck the Virus. There you go, right there. Doing giveaways as well. A lot of cool stuff on the network coming our way, and a lot of exciting announcements that hopefully we can get to in November as well. A big thank you to all of our great sponsors, help put us on Sports Network, keeping the show on the air. And finally to you viewers out there and Ice Dog fans for tuning in and listening along for another Dog Pound episode. And once again, this is the Dog Pound Podcast on the Armchair GM Sports Network. And as Kyle always wants me to say, bark, 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 go Dogs, go. We'll see you guys next week for hopefully another jam-packed episode right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network.
You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.